Stalin. I'm glad you could join us here. Fellows, at this meeting, we shall try to establish an agenda for governing post-war Europe.
I agree, but I believe I can dictate the terms here.
Do not worry. I'm hoping we can get this man to participate in our United Nations. Let's begin.
Poland is a necessity for the government. The question of Poland is one of honor.
Whose honor?
Soviet Russia's. Poland is geographically important and necessary to Russian defense.
Go on.
For years, it has been a protected frontier for the Russians. It should be for the Soviet Union.
But what about the Polish people? Do you have no interest in their opinion?
Soviet Russia is trying to make up for the wrongdoing it has committed against Poland.
By establishing your communist government there?
Yes, but there will be free election there. And Poland must be strong. Under Soviet influence, we can guarantee the safety and will bring Polish people into the Soviet Union.
Winston, what are your opinions on the so-called protection of the Polish under a communist influence?
The idea that Stalin would convey the term protection under a communist government is outrageous. The more land controlled under communist influence, the more powerful the Soviets will become. His attitude is one aimed towards communist power, not the safety of his people.
I was thinking we could change his mindset to a more Western capitalist one, but he's not willing to comply. Could this split ideology be a concern to the UN?
Yes, especially for the British Empire and the European sphere. The protection of Britain and its empire is my main concern.
We understand.
Stalin's Soviet governments throughout Europe are a serious threat. What I want are democratic governments. Poland is no exception. Stalin, you yourself aren't powerful enough to dictate the terms.
Our control of Poland is simply an aspect of our national security plan.
Your national security strategy has little to nothing to do with your attempt at an influential sphere.
Relax, Winston. We're all trying to achieve the same goal here. A world where we can bring peace, freedom, stability, and economic security to all countries. Now here are my goals. Again, I would like us to be all-party United Nations. That is my main proposal. That's what I would really enjoy. Stalin, I would really like Soviet participation in the Pacific sphere of World War II.
I will agree to that on a few terms. Firstly, Americans must recognize Mongolian independence from China. Secondly, you must recognize Soviet desire for control over Manchuria railway system and the Port Arthur in China. Finally, we will only join the Pacific War 2 or 3 months after World War II.
I agree to those terms so far.
As part of our joining in the Pacific War, we will gain control of a few southern Japanese islands and get back our lease of Port Arthur. I will commit myself to keeping the Korean Peninsula involved as little as possible in this war. Their nation should remain stable and their nationality intact.
Then it is fair, for the sake of stopping American bloodshed, I will agree to these terms with the hopes that the war will end as soon as possible.
Should there be consent from these other bodies involved in these terms? China or the Korean Peninsula?
Churchill, it is my desire for this meeting to quicken the end of the war and stop the bloodshed. I do not consider it necessary for us to communicate the terms to China.
We understand the need of Soviet assistance to the U.S. because of the financial instability caused by this war.
International relations, specifically with the USSR, is another concern of mine. This is not a time for Americans to worry about domestic affairs, but rather to focus on the alliance of our three countries after the defeat of Germany.
It seems that the conditional surrender of Germany is your top priority.
We can all agree on that.
How about this? After the war, Germany and Berlin will be split into 3 occupied zones.
I can agree to that.
I agree as well.
Stalin, as for the UN, there will be a Security Council, and all of its members will have to be able to veto decisions. No votes or decisions will be final or forced. You will be able to have a fair say in negotiations.
Then I agree to join.
Discuss the governments of the invaded countries. They should assume the same types of government they carried before the invasion.
Churchill, I agree. But we must disregard Poland. The Polish government will be no threat to the British or the American sphere.
And as for the civilians?
Civilians in the Soviet Union will be sent back to their home countries.
What about the status of these countries in the United Nations? Will they have a place?
All 16 countries will have a place in the UN.
Under communist influence.
They will choose what type of government they seek through free election. And if communism is their choice, let it be.
That communist dog has no intention of letting these countries hold true free elections.
It's come to my understanding that Stalin has remained rather stubborn in embracing a free world of capitalism. I have been too optimistic about his viewpoints. I do not think he can change.
You think? These free elections will be determined only by communist influence and corruption. It is as plain as a pikestaff that Moscow's intentions are to coerce these governments into communism.
This will not be as simple as I thought.
We must ensure that the Nazi scum are to be removed completely. Any major war criminals must be tried with justice.
With a split occupation in Germany, I can ensure that he will be hunted down.
In addition, I desire a large reparation to Germany, specifically $22 billion.
Stalin, I can't approve of that, because I don't think Russia deserves that money. Russia would without a doubt use those reparations for communist intention.
I'll be the mediator here. I do not think we need any more conflict. We'll fix the specifics in the future. Look, we all can't live with what we want. None of us are going to be completely satisfied. But we can agree to disagree. This conference is now over.
Dear members of Congress, I hope that you will pardon me for this unusual posture of sitting down during the presentation of what I want to say. But I know that you will realize that it makes it a lot easier for me not to have to carry about 10 pounds of steel around my legs. And also the fact that I just completed a very long trip. First of all, I want to say it is good to be home. It's been a long journey. I hope you will also agree that it has been, so far, a fruitful one. Speaking in all frankness, the question of whether it is entirely fruitful or not lies to a great extent in your hands. For unless you here, in the halls of American Congress, with the support of the American people, concur in the general conclusion reached at Yalta, and give them your active support, the meeting will not have produced lasting results. That's why I've come to you before, at the earliest hour I could after my return. I want to make a personal report to you, and at the same time to the people of the country. Many months of earnest work are ahead of us, and I should like to feel that when the last stone is laid on the structure of international peace, it will be an achievement for all of us. All of us, America, have worked steadily and unselfishly together. I come from the Crimea Conference with a firm belief that we have made a good start on the road to world peace.